It's the little things in life.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking this morning. It's oh, we're live. Maybe we should just start the podcast. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the live stream wherever you are in the world. And thank you to those that are joining us live. We've got Pinkie Pie here in the room, and anyone else who wants to join live, you can go to cloutforum.org, and there's a join live link there. That'll bring you in, and you can join in the conversation in the chat. So welcome to Clout Forum. Alex has got our backs in the background there, looking after the tech and making sure we stay nice and solid. And today we are blessed with the magical Ayla. I don't even know what to call you anymore. You are like this mythical creature that brings so much to the world. So Ayla, welcome to Clout Forum.
Thank you. I am doing really, really well, actually. This is my first time on the other end. That's what she said.
Straight off the bat. I was actually sitting there thinking, Ayla, it's I was even considering, you know, if we had a big crowd, we could all place bets on how many times that you take over the podcaster role. It's because it's a challenging thing, right? When you've been, so for those that don't know, Ayla, you have the podcast Simp Life, the Simp Life. Yeah. And so you do that, which I've been listening to those quite often, actually. And to be honest, I usually just have a couple of podcasts I tune into. But what I've been loving about yours is just, and I said this to you as well, is the way you're authentically you, you know? It's like you're really there just having that conversation with your audience. So Ayla is a podcaster. She is an amazing interviewer. She's an incredible human and creator on all levels. And so let's see if we can make some magic here.
Making me blush.
So Ayla, that'd be my challenge. It'll match your little kitty ears.
They move to the voice. So as you talk, they'll change. I think it's set to that still.
Nice.
It could be distracting.
Very, very fancy. We have a couple of ADHD kitties here now, just sitting there looking at the kitty ears. Oh, we're doing a podcast. That's right.
That's so right.
All right, so let's get started. So, Ayla, when I was kind of doing a little bit of a write-up, you know, for these podcasts today, I was sitting there thinking, you know, how to describe you from what I've seen so far, and I really do mean it, that you are like this mythical creature, and that's why you draw me so much into your podcast and things, because I love the unique, I love the creatives out there. And so, how would you describe what you are in this world, what you do, what you love, and what you want to bring?
Well, I am a walking contradiction, for sure. Like, my dinner will be half healthy as you can possibly get, and then it has like a couple White Castle burgers on the other side, because White Castle all the way. But yeah, I don't know. I think what I love about the podcast so much is that I am that way on the outside, which throws people off because of how open I am. And I'm just an open book. I don't really have a filter. But I do also have the ability when I'm talking to people that they open up in ways that, like, from what they say, I've never opened up like this. I've never gotten a connection like this. I've had people like think it was like we're soulmates immediately because of that. And I just want to I'm like, kind of, that's how it is with everyone. It's not you, it's everybody. So
how do you say that nicely?
Ooh, I don't have a filter, so I just said it like that.
Yeah.
But that's great though, because if they go from having a crush on me and like thinking that we're soulmates to going, oh shit, she's not, like, okay. And it just ends that real quick.
Yeah. Look, even Ayla, I know as I was watching your stuff, there's this intimacy that builds up when you've got that kind of authenticity, and it's like this feeling of and I think it's, you know, we're so starved as a collective of that human connection, right? Of that intimacy, that it feels like it's a very special thing when you taste it, and it's like it's kind of something that's just natural, right? Like,
yeah,
you know,
it is very special. It is so special, and people opening up to me and allowing me to be open to is everything it is. It is 100% authentic. I don't want to take away from that moment from the person, but it is something that I have with many, many, many people. And that's just what I mean by that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
No,
I'm
it's
thinking about like
it's
the Mario interview. You remember that one?
yeah,
And how
yes.
I started it out without introducing him. And I told him it was an accident. I don't know if that was part of the podcast. I get a little nervous listening to myself, but I did it on purpose because Mario is so well trained to have that certain interview and have the business and this side of him that for me to just start recording and just start talking to him. And then at the end, you know, he really opened up. Like I didn't know about his childhood and all the things he's been through. And it makes everything come together and make sense of why he is the type of person he is. But yeah, I had to introduce him at the end in order to maintain that authenticity, especially with him. It was fun.
No, I can understand it completely. It's you know, because my impression of Mario on BitClout, you know, it's like you see this business guy, this you know very active, very, and then once he comes on the podcast, you start seeing this childlike joy, this just monkey that's just so much fun. And like you say, then it helps us understand. And I think it's one of the problems in the world right now, right? We're so obsessed with these superficial projections of who each of us are. And that's why, again, I love what you do, Ayla, and why I'm such a big supporter is because I see you doing that, opening people up and helping people see. And I think that's where we get the long-term holders in projects like BitClout is if we all get to see each other. We get to know who we are, you know, so.
Yeah, but the thing with Mario is he always seems to sit. I don't know if you've met him in person. Well, no, because you're on pandemic time. He always sits by himself and he's on his phone. And it comes off as like he's stuck up or too good to, in some people, we each have our own filter. I'm the same way. I have a resting bitch face. I look scary and intimidating, but really I'm just a scared little kitten that needs somebody to come like, go, hi, and like make me feel comfortable and actually wanted. And that opened everything up because it does look like that with people like Mario, you know, but then you learn about him and you realize even on the podcast, I'm talking about, yeah, you saw me, you know, in New York City. I was by myself, but it's because I'm kind of shy and I need somebody to like come talk to me. And that's, you just want to hug them.
Yeah. Right. And then you think how many others are so misunderstood from this, you know, that we go out and we pass all these judgments, or they think they're this or that. And it's like, when really, you know, it's like a lot of the work that I've done in my past is all based around this idea that all of this comes from, you know, basically just defense mechanisms. You know, it comes from fear. And if people feel fear, then they put up their which defense mechanisms are just programs. They're not conscious thoughts. But then as soon as you create that safe space, then you watch the bodyguards step back, and it's like the inner child gets to come out and play. And I think that's in everyone. You know, stockbrokers, you know, everyone, everything.
Barnacles. I want him on my podcast. I wondered
how long
so
until
bad.
we got that name in here.
I want him on my podcast so bad because I feel like he's like a sweet little kitten inside of that, you know, that angry troll incel type of mentality. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Those are the people I want most on my podcast.
Yeah.
Breaking down walls.
You know, and this is for those that haven't come across Barnacles. He's a Twitch streamer, right? He's very controversial. He thrives on that, you know, as they say, a professional troll. And you know, I saw the same Ayla, and then it's like I saw how much of like, you know, there's really someone that wants that connection. Even after all the drama and the rest, he keeps on coming on BitClout, kept on posting, and so then I'd actually reach out and connect and and put a few messages, and you see that. Deep down, there's a sweet man wanting to connect. Just doesn't know how.
Yeah. And if you listen to his Twitch stream, and it was very difficult for me to listen to it because it was a lot. It's very hard for me to see and hear terrible things said about me that I have no way of defending myself. But if you actually listen to his verbiage, he talks a lot about how he just wants to protect and he just wants to protect. And sometimes people are trying to protect, but they're hurting, which is like my tattoo of this guy from the Labyrinth, and which is why I have him tattooed. Can you see him? It's the worm.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I got him tattooed on me years and years ago, and he was always my favorite because he meant well. He wanted to do the right thing and he thought he was doing the right thing, but his advice was absolutely the opposite of what she needed. And and that's so right. There's so many people that try to give us advice and try to help us, but they don't understand that the advice they're giving us is absolutely the worst for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. And
The
that's
worst part. And I think that's the nuance that's so important. And, I spent most of my life being a fixer, trying to fix everyone else around me, because then that little child in me would be safe to be able to just be me, right? And so you eventually realize you can't do that. You get exhausted. But the big wake up call was when I realized that as much as I'd try and make my ex-partner, my son's mother, try and make life better by helping to guide and fix, and I try and help my family and everyone else, all that I would do is create more division. Because it's like, you may see these logical steps, but what it comes down to is, where are they right now though? Because those steps may not be relevant to them, right? And then all you're doing is, splitting off and separating. So
I think
it's a hard thing to watch people in their suffering,
Yeah, especially with our families. Our families a lot of times are very like, we don't want you to move away. We don't want you to take this big risk. We want you to go to college and do this and this and this. And they're very forceful or mean or whatever about it. And it is coming from a caring place, but they're terrified. Plus they're living through their filters. They just want to protect, but like protecting something in a little ball is never going to give them the ability to figure out through trauma or whatever mistakes or great things that they might encounter who they truly are meant to be. Like 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes me think of the, it's a bit cliched and age old, but that metaphor around the caterpillar, right? And it's like one of the things, because there's always that thing of the caterpillar goes in the cocoon into the darkness and then becomes a butterfly. But when it kind of became more real for me was when I realized and understood, like, that with the caterpillar, first, when it goes into the cocoon, it turns to mush, right? So it breaks down the old structures. And then there's these things literally called imaginal cells. I thought that was just a nice name for it, but they're literally called imaginal cells. So cells that are basically the imagination of the butterfly, the new of what's possible.
You're blowing my mind.
Right? So these imaginal cells, it's a scientific term apparently, imaginal cells start breeding within the goo, in the caterpillar goo. But then what happens is, of course, the old caterpillar cells see that as a threat. So they try, and the immune system of the old caterpillar, because it's so different, tries to kill the imaginal cells until eventually they overcome. And then the butterfly has to struggle to get and if it doesn't struggle, it'll die. If you cut it open, the butterfly will die, right? So you have to let the butterfly break through, and that gets the juices flowing through its wings and gives it strength. And then it becomes this glorious butterfly. And that was when it went from being a cliche metaphor to going, that's what we're seeing everywhere, right? We've got this new imagining, and yet people are fighting because they're scared.
Yeah. When I moved here to Key West, I was at my lowest point in life, pretty much. And I had just gotten a settlement for my daughter passing away. And all of a sudden, my daughter's life had a price tag on it. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the US court system, they see a child dying as a financial blessing. And they actually say that. Yeah, because now you have no bills. You're like, oh, now I could go shopping. Yay.
Jesus.
So they give you very little as far as compensation. It's more like, what did you actually lose?
Wow.
Weird, right? So when I got the settlement, it was like, it was really horrifying to my brain. And I told myself, I'm either checking myself into a 30-day spa, like mental spa, or I'm going to this place I heard of called Key West, which is a tiny little island where you sit on the beach and you drink pina coladas and listen to Jimmy Buffett and all your problems melt away. Never been here. And about 3 hours later, I booked 2 first-class tickets, one for me and one for my boyfriend at the time. And we came here within hours on January 1st, 4.5 years ago. So whatever that is, I'm on Key West time, so I don't know anything anymore. BitClout time, same thing. And
yeah, right.
I had an issue with having like panic attacks, and I would freak out and whatever. But I remember being at the hotel and I didn't get the hotel room that I thought I was going to get. So I had a little meltdown, and the lady was so calm and so sweet that I was just like, oh, I feel safe here. And to be honest, this place was my cocoon. It really is. It's a bubble. It's a place where if anybody on the outside world tries to attack me, I'm perfectly safe. If I try to attack me, I'm perfectly safe. And I was like, I'm never leaving. I'm not going to enter the real world ever again, because this is like the safest place. It was my cocoon. But within that, we had the pandemic, and I had other life things happen. And I did have that cocoon, or that caterpillar breakdown. And it was like the old me, which is the side that I think that as a child, you teach yourself defense mechanisms that keep you safe during trauma, but they don't work for you in the adult world, which is why like you just keep repeating cycles. So I had that old me, and then I had like this new me that has really wanted to succeed and stop self-sabotaging, and they were fighting against each other. And I did win, like the real me did. So I did have that moment of being able to cocoon out. I know, gosh, right at the beginning of the pandemic, I ended up breaking my ankle in 2 places swimming with some sharks, and then got COVID the same day.
Hang on. Did you say you broke your ankle in 2 places swimming with sharks?
Yeah. Well, it was a drunken boat day at the sandbar, and the tide went down. So when we saw the 2 lemon sharks swimming that we wanted to swim with, they're like 6-footers. We're like, oh, lemon sharks, let's swim with them. I jumped out like a ranger, like a U.S. Army Ranger, and just shattered my ankle. But I was so drunk, I didn't even, on the sand. It was only like maybe a 1.5 feet deep. Yeah.
That was a missing piece of the puzzle with the breaking ankles. I was like,
yeah, it just shattered my ankle in 2 or 3 places. And I still swam with the sharks. And my friend Gracie, she's on the platform. She's like, I think we should take you to the ER. And I was like, no, I'm fine. She's like, no, we're going to the ER. And yeah, it was broken. And then I asked her if she would buy me Taco Bell to make it feel better.
I've had Taco. Ayla, I've had Taco Bell once in the States, and it is like, it's a drug. Like, I can understand that might make you feel better.
I have Taco Bell tattooed on me.
I had one of the brownies there with my partner at the time, and it was like we'd taken drugs, amphetamines or something. It was wild.
Yeah. My favorite are the beef chalupa meal. I love beef chalupas so much. So
what are chalupas?
They're pita bread that's shaped into a taco and then fried. Oh yeah. My mouth is watering. I'm gonna drool. But
we better get back to the story.
But she bought me Taco Bell, and then I got home and I took a bite of it, and I was like, I don't taste anything. And I looked, and it ended up being chicken chalupa. So I'm like, oh, that's why. Like, it's just, she ordered the wrong ones. I mean, it wasn't, whatever. I hate chicken, no flavor. But it was COVID. I woke up with COVID. So I woke up with COVID with my ankle smashed in 2 places. I had not prepared for this. I didn't go buy toilet paper. Like, my cat box needed changing, and I was just crying, crawling on the floor all by myself. Like, it was a pivotal moment for me, because that moment I could have broke down like I did the rest of my life, or I could take it as, okay, challenge effing accepted. Like, I literally just got a magazine deal. I got like all these things happening. I was doing these amazing photo shoots, and now I'm broken as F with nothing. And man, instead of feeling sorry for myself, I started studying YouTube algorithms. I studied PewDiePie. I studied all the biggest across the board YouTubers, and started studying social media and how it worked, and figuring out like, okay, what should I do? I don't want to be on camera because like I think too much about like what I look like. And I started learning that podcasting was really growing again. I honestly thought podcasts were like out back in like 97. I thought they were done, but they aren't. So I started studying voice and how to speak correctly, and raising your pitch up at the end, which Australians do anyway, which is why we all think you're so smart. Because it is.
That's what it is, huh?
But yeah, I did that, and I came up with this virtual reality world in order to like save Key West. And I planned it all out, and I found amazing programmers and developers and artists, like I just did everything. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I just like created a whole new life. And here I am. It's just been fucking unbelievable. Sorry. It's been really crazy, but I think that that's like your whole point of that butterfly effect. Like it could kill
Absolutely,
you
right?
if somebody came in and saved me and gave me all the money I needed or whatever. I could have just sat on my ass and waited until I was ready to go back. But that would have
Yeah.
killed me. It
Yeah.
wasn't my purpose.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you see this so much with governments, the way they try to deal with situations, they just throw money at it, and it's like, no, that's not going to actually help, you know. But if you create an environment where you say, just whisper to the young butterfly in the cocoon, we're here, we're waiting, it's going to be okay. Relax, surrender, surrender to the process, and then it doesn't have to be so much pain. That's
Oh,
what I've
it's
come to learn in my
painful.
life is. Well, it's painful, but then with pain, right? Pain can be
Yeah.
enjoyable pain,
Yeah.
or it can be terrifying pain.
Yeah.
You know, and really, it's when we can shift our perspective around it. It doesn't necessarily have to be suffering, but it can be incredibly painful, if that makes sense. But yes, okay.
Absolutely.
So Ayla, that's you've had one hell of a ride. So before all this went down. Were you involved in photography, the celebrity world, all those kinds of things before kind of the process of the caterpillar going towards the cocoon, that chaos?
Yes. In I was living in Alaska and I just quit smoking through vaping.
Hmm.
And something that was really popular back before vaping got stupid popular, it was doing the hand checks and posting like the hand check of like whatever you're vaping through, like the equipment and then also the flavor. And because I lived
Gotcha.
in Alaska with an absolutely stunning like decor, I guess you could call it outside,
Mm.
I was taking some really cool photos. And so vape companies were sending me free vape stuff to try out. But I was never one of those people that would just take everything and like shout out everything. Like I really started getting very involved with like quality companies. And then I started creating my own flavors. And then I created my own e-liquid line called Grunt Juice, actually. And
Grunt juice.
I met this incredible self-taught photographer and graphic designer. And him and I started working together. And then we kind of fell in love online. And we started the company, and I moved from Alaska to Boston and met him in person. And we launched the juice line there. I won an award for best candy flavor. It was called Battle Rattle. It was a grape candy flavor. It was my favorite flavor. I loved it.
Grapes are classic.
Yeah, but it was a good grape. Like it had 7 different
Mm.
ingredients. It was really nice. I had a little sweet tart in there. I had I forgot. I'm not going to say them all, but it was really yummy. And I
Mm.
won that award. We got the money together to open up a vape shop, and nobody knew because I don't like people online knowing when I go through hardships because I hate people feeling sorry for me. Nobody knew that we had left our apartment and moved into the back room of this vape shop while we were in the middle of building it. So we even put in like a shower, like he built a shower in there. It was crazy. And we had that adventure. And then we ended up, it wasn't doing really well. Not because we didn't build it up amazing, but just the area that we put it in was the wrong area.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. And then I got the money. I mean, there was a lot of stuff between, but yeah, I got the money
Yeah.
I came to Key West and we moved here while on vacation and closed the vape shop. And then
Yeah, I
Hurricane Irma
gotcha.
happened and I lost everything. And I moved back up north for about 6 months and lived in the back of the store, miserable. It was effing miserable. And really
Hmm.
that was the downfall of our relationship it was just not right anymore. Like we both were under a lot of stress.
That puts a
And
lot of pressure on you, right? When you're in those kinds of situations where it's, on the fly every day in each
I
other's
had to
pockets.
I had to make a choice. It was stay in Boston with him or move back to Key West. And I think that was probably my first brave moment. Usually I would like be too scared to lose what I love. So I actually made a decision, and on April 1st, I moved back to Key West by myself. And then you have this beautiful, so my daughter, she leaves me hearts everywhere. Okay. Like to find in the clouds or anywhere. And you keep moving your head in this amazing way where like the light behind you and the headphones, like right here, it keeps forming at this cute little perfect heart. So that's, if I get thrown off, it's because I'm like, oh, hi, Aurora.
Oh, that's sweet. What was her name?
Aurora.
Oh.
Aurora James. I named her when I was 5 years old after Sleeping Beauty. There it is again.
Oh, shit, there it is. I was sitting there going, I'm not even going to try and do that on purpose. That would be
really awkward.
yeah. It's got to be the silent part for people just listening to audio.
Like, oh my God, I love it. Oh. But yeah, where were we? Yeah. Sorry, I get distracted by hearts.
Synchronicity and magic.
Yes. That's my whole life is magic. Just little things making me happy, staying childlike, and water, lots of water.
Do you mind me asking, like, what? And feel free not to avoid this question, but what's not that anyone's going to avoid a question, it'll be you. What is your perspective on life these days? Because obviously, going through so many challenges and everything else, people have their different religions, different belief structures, and the rest. How do you view life? How do you view the universe and reality?
I guess you'd say mostly Buddhist. That's what really saved me when those guys came down here and I learned about that and learning how to not be angry and being mindful and seeing things through other people's eyes. But I don't know. I love science so much. I have Neil deGrasse Tyson tattooed on me too.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also believe that there could be a God. Like, I love that I don't know anything. I love admitting that I don't know anything. And that way it keeps me like very curious. And it also allows me to absorb information. But I don't know.
I appreciate that.
I don't really know.
Ayla,
and I love that.
Yeah, I've spent the last ever since I was a teenager or a kid, I was fascinated by this idea of God, but could never, I'd go to church with my friends, but I'd feel there was something there, but everything else seemed a bit off, around it. And so I've always been pursuing it, since my boy was born, 11 years ago. It's like it went intensified because now I had, growing up, things I had to deal with and the rest. And I remember I went so far to like the ends of the galaxy trying to understand all the greater spiritual minds of the times, like how is this universe built? And then you get all these answers. And then in the end, it was like, well, that's not changing much. But then I realized that, because the more answers you get, the more questions you get, because now there's more to ask about, because obviously it's not a simple drop in the ocean. And then eventually something cracked and there was an epiphany, and it was just like you're saying right now. And it was probably about a year ago I started really embodying this of just letting go of needing to know, right? And it's exactly like you're saying. It's like that liberation that comes from going, I don't need to know. Like, I'm sure there's something, and whatever it is, I'm sure it's not an asshole. And if it is, well, what am I going to do? And let's just, and that's where my trajectory as well went from this chasing a spiritual enlightenment to how do I just get to live the best life I can? How do I get to just be the best human I can be? What does that even mean? Right. And that's, again, I think where I kind of have been so drawn to you, Ayla, and it is that thing of like, I almost had this kind of crush the first time I started seeing you and hearing you, because I felt exactly what you described, that connection to authenticity, to that human experience, to you represent to me freedom in a way, and it's something that I feel like I didn't have because I had all these structures of who I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to behave. And that's part of what drew me to BitClout. That's part of what happened. I deleted my Facebook account and said, I'm coming here as me, not telling anyone about my background, because I want to be free. And that's where when I met you in Nacho Average, a big shout out to the Nacho Average call and everyone in there, I saw the way you held yourself, the way you shared, even when you felt awkward or uncomfortable, you still just expressed. And that was such an inspiration for me, you know. So I'm
It's
not sure I was going
hard.
with that. That was more just a thank you and yeah, for what you do
Almost
bring.
tearing me up, but
Yeah.
it is so hard. But I think the modern day internet and the way things, how I've observed things, because I've always liked to be an outside observer, and then figure things out on my own with what facts I'm given. I don't like to be told what to believe. Is that people feel like they have to say something online that is very like struck, like raw, like, you know what I mean? And if they're wrong, regardless if they're wrong, they have to stand by it. Because if, God forbid, they admit that they're wrong with that one thing, then that just like throws off everything that they've ever said in their entire life. Not allowed to make mistakes, not allowed to like go, oops, I'm sorry. And I think with the government, I know you're not in our country, but with the, and even in your government, in everybody's, you have to, the people are responsible for allowing the people that are in charge to admit to their mistakes, and that making them sexier or more valuable or more like, I trust this person. But I mean, can you like think of two people, one person who never admits to their mistakes and will fight you to tooth and nail that like the sky is freaking green, and you just look at him like you're an effing idiot and I'll never listen to you, or the person who's like, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong, and even if your thing doesn't agree with mine, it doesn't negate, I don't even know if that's the right word, everything that I've just said in every other aspect. It just means that I've made a mistake right here, like that, and then you respect that person so much more afterwards, like you almost are drawn more to
Absolutely.
that person.
Right. Absolutely. Anyone that can say, "Oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah, I think you know," and they can reevaluate their point. It's like, okay, my home is your home. You're welcome. It's almost like that's the one precondition. If we're going to be friends and you're going to be in my close circle, I need that. You know.
It's trust. It's somebody being vulnerable, and then there's trust built from that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom, she was the only one in our family that didn't believe in God. And so while everybody else went to church every Sunday, we would go to church, but it was a Unitarian church. So it was Unitarian Universalist. And that's what I was raised. God, I was such an angry kid because my mom was the only different one. But now I'm just like, yes, I freaking love everything you've ever done for me because it made me who I am. But the Unitarian Universalist, every Sunday as a child, I would go to a different religious ceremony, so that our church believed that you were allowed to make your own choice, and they just wanted to give that openness and that safety place for everybody to express themselves. And it was the universal Unitarian Universalism is allowing yourself to believe in whatever, but coming together as a whole and respecting everybody as a whole. So it was really neat to go to Catholic
Wow.
or Christian or Jewish. Like even my pastor wanted to help me get a bar mitzvah for, even though I'm not Jewish, she wanted to help like facilitate that for me. And another pivotal point was I was a Sunday school teacher at 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, at the Unitarian Church. And I had the 3-year-olds, and there was this little girl named Emily. Oh, I don't want to cry. So Emily had 2 brothers that were, I think they were 5 and maybe 2, or 5 and 7 or something. But Emily never spoke. She was this beautiful blonde, perfect little angel thing that would come in every Sunday, and she would just crawl into my lap and sit there, never spoke a word. And we would play with the little horsies, and that's our little thing. And I remember one day going to the church because I had to pee, and I just know that my church is always open for anybody. So we just stopped in the parking lot, and there were so many people. And I walked into the building, and this lady just started hugging me, saying how sorry she was. And it had turned out that so the father was Unitarian Universalist and the mother was hardcore Christian. And the father would bring the children to our church every Sunday. And the father decided, I guess, to tell the mother that he was no longer in love with her or wanted a divorce or something. And the mother drugged the 3 children and murdered them. Yeah. So that also really set me up to hate the Christian world and hate that whole system and everything around it. That was not the first child that I had been around that died, but it was very traumatic to me, and it really set something up in my head that Christianity is wrong. How could, like, obviously God, all that stuff, it's bullshit. It was
Yeah.
difficult, but I just really appreciated the Unitarian thought process and allowing me the freedom. I felt so much freedom and safety in that freedom. It's very strange because you would think that you need structure and all this, like, to feel safe.
Well, I think that's, I mean, this has been a big contemplation for me the last couple of years. I've had this obsession with idealism and realism and you know, how to balance that. Because I've lived a very Peter Pan lifestyle of, you know, very idealistic. And I look back and cringe at, you know, the absolute lack of realism. And you know, in a way, like realism is that framework, right? And the way I like to think of it is like a river needs riverbanks, otherwise it turns into a boggy marsh. And that's what I see with, you know, too much structure or not enough structure end up being the same problem, you know. That's what I hear in what you're saying is, you know, the Christian church and these more hardcore kind of this is the way type churches have very restrictive frameworks that don't really allow permission to explore and then come back. Whereas, you know, as you were explaining it, that sounds like the kind of place I was looking for as a kid and couldn't find. Was a place where I
Yeah.
could go and ask questions, meet all the different faiths to find what is the thread that connects all of us. That's what I was looking for. So I needed, and to me, it sounds like that provided the minimal framework to allow the maximum exploration in that sense. So you're safe enough, everyone's safe with the basic rules. And so, yeah, and I think that's what I'm hoping we get to see with blockchain. You know, we get to see with all these new things that are coming forward, so we can start seeing environments, right, where we're not needing to control each other. You know, the trustless environment. We don't need to trust these systems, you know, because I certainly don't trust our systems right now. But yeah.
I will say BitClout does remind me a lot of the Unitarian Universalist kind of thought process. And man, it is really open, and it is very scary for people to have trust in something because, like, they're like, no, it's always been like this, or it's there has to be somebody that, like, it's a scam because, like, there's no way people would, like, do this and this and this for just the people. And it's very frustrating. The Christian church, I remember, to me, is the hypocritical, where they're like, they are so blatantly liars and hypocrites. And I think there's like a saying in the Bible somewhere where in a church, you're supposed to invite the homeless person and kick off the first person in the pew and allow him to sit there. But then when you would enter the church, if you weren't wearing or looked like everybody else, you got the snooty ass look. And that was so hypocritical to me. And it just made me, like, not trust them more. And if they had more of the Unitarian of everybody is welcome, truly welcome, and everybody's ideas can be listened to without anybody jumping on them, that was safe to me. But yet I was still scared and unable to admit when I was wrong because I didn't have the confidence within myself. And it really took having confidence within myself to be able to admit when I'm wrong and not fight it.
Yeah.
It's scary to do that, but it is rewarding.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
The most rewarding thing in the world, right? I mean, because in the end, it rewards you with real friendships, real human connection, and real human experience. And I think, you know, again, what I see in you so much, Ayla, is something that I don't think many people have had the blessing to taste. Is what it feels like to be in that genuine authenticity. You know, it's like we talk it and we say it, and there's all these different things, but it takes courage. Because it's not clean, it's not perfect, it's messy, it's dirty, you're gonna fuck up, there's gonna be mistakes, and we're gonna say dumb shit that we're gonna regret, and but like you say, the reward for going through that and being able to go, yeah, okay, I didn't quite get it right at that time. It means we get to just be together with each other, and then, you know, which is where, you know, we started this podcast, like you were saying, when you connect to these people, this is because of your vulnerability and your courage, which isn't, you know, easy as such. you're blessed with all these intimate moments all the time, all around with everyone, right?
Yes.
And I've been very fortunate and blessed with the same, which is where I recognize that in you. I was like, I just want to hang out and chat because I think this could be great. And it was really nice and healing to actually hear it from you, because I haven't had that conversation with many people where I've actually felt they've understood it. And hearing it from you was really healing, because it is challenging. Like I said, it's why I came away from Facebook, because I felt like I was getting used like, hey Siri. People were reaching out to me for all the different things that they know me for, in a sense. And I was having a hard time saying, well, actually was a point that I was having a hard time not replying. I'd feel rude. So then
Mm-hmm.
it's when I really started realizing that when someone sends you an email, someone sends you a message, whether you're going to read it or not, they have now taken a bit of your attention, whether you like it or not. And it's such a strange thing to try and find that balance of,
Especially when you
so
care
yeah.
so much.
Yes,
Like so much. It's
exactly.
so hard. Like this morning when I woke up, I had my notifications were so long with every single different app, and it like gave me massive anxiety at first. But the crazy thing is, old me still has a tendency to want to run, hide, like overpromise things to some, like everybody, because I care so much and I want to help everybody, but then I can't follow through because I'm over bogged down and mentally I can't handle it. So then I just run away and I disappoint people and people hate me. And it's very hard to overcome that. Being on BitClout, being in places like Nacho Average, talking to people like you, especially, and these other incredible people, where I it I don't want to do that anymore. Like I get inspired by everybody so much, and each person gives a little bit of themselves. So I feel like I have the bravery within myself to just go, okay, slow it down. Like figure out what you've overpromised, talk to them and let them know. Figure out like what is your main goal, right? Like your goals, and then what coincides with that and everything. And being on this platform has everybody's inspired me so much to no longer do that. And like I think you, me, and Alex had that talk where I was like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but instead of being scared and running away and disappointing you guys, like I felt safe enough to have that conversation and say, what can we do about this so that I feel better and I make sure that I am able to follow through with everything that we've talked about. And it's
Yeah,
so rewarding every time because I haven't been disappointed from that, from,
absolutely.
and that is the
Absolutely.
BitClout community that I feel safest with, because each one of us is like so creative and probably so like out there in every single way and don't feel heard, don't feel supported. And we finally have found our little crew. And I do have to question, I'm like, is it a cult? Is it a cult? Is it a cult? But it's not, because a cult wants power over you with their idea, where this is empowering you for your ideas. So it's like the opposite of a cult. It's just something
Absolutely.
we've been like thirsty and hungry for so long.
Yeah. No, I hear you totally on that. It's the amount of times in the past when I first started kind of getting a voice on social media that I'd get called a cult leader and different things. And then I started realizing it's like, oh, well, actually, I do have the ingredients for it. I'd make a great cult leader if
I
I apply.
know.
In fact, I wish I could just do it, because I mean, hey, it'd be a good cult. But
Oh my
but
God.
it was such a fear. It was a terror, because it's the last thing I ever wanted, and that's what I really am loving, because it's almost like the cult leaders don't even always want to be the cult leader, but everyone wants to give away their power to somebody. And I started realizing that's what was happening out there on social media, is people wanting to hand it over, and suddenly it's like it or not, you become because in the end, like let's break it down. Cult leader is a leader of culture. Like really, that's what it is, right? We've just given a bad spin to the ones that have led some pretty fucked up culture, pardon my expression,
Yeah.
right? So in a sense, all politicians are cult leaders, all celebrities are cult leaders, all of us are. Any influence, right? We're leading culture, and And it was something that's taken a lot of time for me to come to. And so I moved away from Facebook. And what you're sharing here about BitClout, Nitro Average, like Nitro Average, if you haven't been on the Nitro Average call, it's so worth popping in and visiting. Because that's what I loved, is that we were all in there and we would have absolutely polarized opinions on things at times when it came to religion, spirituality, or whether it was about business or, rights to share images, all this kind of stuff. Everyone would have differing perspectives, but there was a mutual respect. There was a culture that we could share that didn't need us to believe in anything. And I think that's, like you're saying, that's where really is that difference. But I think it's a healthy thing as well to always keep checking. Do I need to believe something to hang out with you still? Do I need to believe something to be in that Nitro crew? Or can it be enough that we all share a vision for a better world where we can actually have a liberated social media,
And that's BitClout as a whole as well. And
yeah,
gosh, I think it can get overwhelming with how many people are excited about you and want to do something with you. And you do have to like figure out what feels right. And there's the fear of missing out, FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, and you want to jump into every project, and then you find out maybe someone's a little wackadoo on this side that doesn't really match your side, and you're like, whoa, I don't want my name attached to that person. But like that's everybody. But then there's other people that you're like, oh my gosh, I never in a million years thought that this person, like you for instance, I've always seen your friendly face when I first started BitClout, being supportive of my posts and everything, but I never knew until the Clout forum like how actually invaluable you are. And just not the platform, but like the ability to give this openness, and you're just so friendly. And like the things you say about me, that's what I see in you. And that's probably really fucking cool. That mirror thing where you see yourself in other people. Yeah. And then it just made me want to get to know you like so much more. You were no longer, I'm looking at your little profile picture, that's why, but like you were no longer just that profile picture with the name next to it. You were like a soul, like a person. And it's calls like Nacho Average, where you get to have that interaction where people become not symbols on a screen, but they become like a soul and energy and like smiles and like exchanges of stuff. It's very exciting. It's very addicting too. And you do have to like walk away from BitClout or those calls and like reevaluate yourself and continuously ask yourself like, what energy is mine? What energy is other people's? And get yourself fixed and straight and just slow it down a moment and allow your gut instinct to catch up with your FOMO in your brain. And like, slow down your brain and like let your gut instinct catch up to everything, if that makes sense. That's really what I've been working on.
Yeah. It's hard. I remember I went to New York they'd say a spiritual teacher, but this guy Richard, right, he's a good friend of mine these days. He does a body of work called the Gene Keys, and incredible Englishman. He's a poet, he's a mystic, but he's a family man first and foremost, above everything, really grounded. And I went there because he was releasing a book called The Art of Contemplation. Spent a week with him and helped run the events and different things. And by the end of it, we sat down, we're having sushi and celebrating the end of the week before we're all heading our own ways. And I just said, Richard, because I've learned all this human design, all this fancy kind of like, astrological kind of based stuff. You can take profiles, you can break it all. Like I'm well known for that around the world, and what I do, it's awesome. It's what I've kind of created an identity around. And then all of a sudden I went to this thing, and the art of contemplation is this simple concept of pause, pivot, and merge. This idea that first, when you have that trigger or you've had action or you've had something, just like you're saying, like take a moment, pull away, pause, and then it allows digestion to happen, right? It allows things to arrive. And then you can pivot emotionally, you can take a new perspective and then go back in. And it's like, really, it's just rinse and repeat, right? If we just learned and mastered that, then the wisdom gets extracted from life. And so I was at the sushi restaurant with all this that I'd learned in life and everything else. It was a big turning point. I said to Richard, it's like, Richard, you kind of fucked me here, man. I said, I literally used those words. I was like, you have just like, everything seems pointless now. It's just, that's it. Pause, pivot, merge,
A
you know?
100%. My mom
And
said the other night, she's like, "Oh, you have such good gut instinct. Too bad your brain and your gut can't like be at the same time." You know what I mean? Because I always have
yeah.
these, it just doesn't ever seem to catch up. And that really hit me. I'm like, why can't it though? Like, what do I need to do to allow that to happen? And I really think that it is, like you said, pausing, because we have this thing inside of us, this intuition that we've either shut out because we're too busy and focused and everything, or we just don't listen to. One way that I know if I am being mindful and I'm in the present moment, which is a lot about the Buddhism and studying that, is how many hearts I find that day. If I only find 2 hearts or no hearts, I know I am too much in my mind or too focused on like things, and I'm not in the moment and in the present. And so that is a way for me to tell if I am like where I am. And so I'll slow myself down, and all of a sudden hearts start appearing everywhere. And it allows me to go, okay, not only do I get a little message from my daughter, but I also know that I am present. I am present. We are literally always in the past, feeling guilty about the past, or we are in the future. But how often are we actually right here where it's real? Like, this is what's real, is every single moment. And
Yeah.
barely are we here because we're so focused on the past and we're so focused on the future. We're never here. And this is true living, is being here. It's so like, I
It's
don't even know how
everything,
to
right?
make it as profound as that really truly is. You have to be here, because what other reason are we alive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so
Even
retarded.
as you're saying that, I see this vision of like, we're leaving behind our security guards to look after the here and now while we're consciously off in the future or the past. And it's like, so then does that mean then that most of the world's community, it's their security guards passing the message, while they're off in these other wonderlands? And it's like, you're absolutely, I was out this morning. I actually posted on BitClout a photo. I was having an espresso just before I came out here, got my boy settled, and I went out and had an espresso, and I looked out. And I live on 39 acres of the most gorgeous hills and bushland up here with granite boulders. It's just amazing. But I'm so busy a lot of the time trying to save the world and all the rest, and caught up. And then once I break the addiction of saving the world, now it's like, get BitClout up and going, save BitClout, it's always something, right? And it was like, I was there this morning and I just sat and I stopped. It's like, yeah, there's a podcast. I've got to make sure I've got to go. And then all of a sudden, it's like this incredible gold that has been there the entire time suddenly begins to reveal itself, right? Like that very thing that I think, I want to get this going and I'll get successful, get that. And then we're going to have the best life. It's like, it's already there. It's already there the whole time. And it's so right what you say.
It's like going scuba diving. If you are so focused on like swimming around and trying to find things and think about the things that you could be finding, you're going to miss everything, because you literally just need to stay still, stop moving. And then all of a sudden, everything starts coming out and you see the whole new world. It's just really effing cool what starts coming out, and more
Yeah.
things come out. And then they start living life because now you're an accepted part of the world. I have tried so hard to figure out how to take care of myself, because I'm such a caretaker. And
Yeah.
the thing, this is like a little life lesson if you want to use it, is I had so much guilt from everything I'd done in the past, because I really lived a life of self-survival and trying to just survive. And I've made so many mistakes in my life that every day I would wake up hating old me and feeling guilty, which would then, dieting, like you like think about like, oh, I did this and this and this. And then it like sets you up for failure today. And then like, it just sets you up for all kinds of failures. So needed to retrain my brain, but I needed to come up with a way that I would self-care for myself in the way that I'm like, why do I care for other people so much better than I care for myself? I'm like, I'm a caretaker. I'm a caretaker. Like, okay, I'll separate myself. And I separated myself into 3 different people. And I also separate, so it's linear, and then it's also here and there. So I have caretaker me and baby me. And then I've got past me, present me, and future me. And on a daily basis, I started with just setting up my coffee maker for future me. Like no matter how tired I got, I would set up coffee each night, and I would clean up. Like I would also sweep up and just clean up, so that I was like, I'm going to do something nice for future me, because I'm like a caretaker and I need to take care of future me, because that's no longer me anymore. If it's me, I'm like, fuck me. I don't deserve this. Like, why am I going to do this? You know? So I'm like thinking about it as a completely separate person. And it was really cool because I started waking up to this coffee and I would be giddy about it. Like I was like, you just be playful about it and everything. I'm like, just like, oh my God, thank you, past me. Aren't you a freaking sweetheart? I'm like so excited and like, I love you. And it got me like excited for the day. And after about a month of doing this, I started not hating past me anymore, because I had reprogrammed what past me was. Because you really only remembered like the most recent, you know what I mean? And it trained me. But then there would be like 1 in every 3 weeks where I'm so tired that I'm like, okay, today me, do you think that tomorrow you will forgive you this one time for not setting you up because you're really tired? And then I wouldn't make myself coffee, and I'd wake up in the morning, and instead of hating myself and feeling like a failure, I would go, oh, I hope that you got the rest that you needed. You know what I mean? I'm like, I love you so much.
That's almost making me cry, Ayla.
I know.
Because it's every morning. Like this is something I've been going through last month. Is at night times it's like there's all the intensity, stress, and everything, and all the excuses for the victim under the sun. And then so what would happen is I'd get to the end of the night, get the boy to bed, and then the little kid in me is like, where's my time? And so then I'd sit and I'd smoke weed, because that's where at least I could shut off the brain and I can't do anything else, right? But then I just wasted away. Like I'd love to be playing guitar, playing games, playing something, but I get so ripped because I have to basically put tranquilizer in me to stop, keep going, that I waste it. And then it becomes a trance until 1:30 in the morning, and then I'm back up at 7. And then when I wake up, the future me is pissed at the past me. And you put it so beautifully.
Yeah. It's today you that's pissed at yesterday you. Yeah. It's so true.
Exactly. So the way you put that and the way you put the compassion in it is even just, okay, if it is going to happen, at least have the communication between the two going on.
Yes.
Right. So when you said that, it was almost like there was the unrecognized today me. It's like, what about me? And it's like, oh, okay. So thank you, Ayla.
100%.
More love.
And then if you do end up give it like, okay, so then there's the caretaker and the baby. I might not want to do things that are good for me. So I have to separate myself and have caretaker like daddy me. You know what I mean? Like daddy knows best. Daddy says you have to eat your vegetables, or you have to do this thing because it's good for you. You have to go to bed at a certain time, or you have to play guitar, or you have to go to yoga. So I don't allow myself to argue with daddy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I listen to that person.
It's like that masculine archetype of the disciplinary, like not in a negative way, because I've always had such negative attachments to discipline. But it's the beauty of that structure we talk about. Right?
Releasing control and arguing and all the things that are going on in your head of like, this is why I shouldn't do it, this is why whatever. When daddy me says something, I don't allow myself to think about it. I just do it. So I'll go grocery shopping and be like, oh, I'm going to get this, but I'm not going to get this. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take care of baby me. I'm like, little girl, you get to have like a little treat, because like all this other stuff. So then you get a little treat. And it's just very caring. I don't know how to explain how much it's changed my life doing that, disassociating myself in so many different pieces. But it really has changed my entire life. And now sometimes I think about future me as tomorrow me, but I'm actually able to expand it now to, well, I have a goal for 3 weeks, future me 3 weeks. So I'm going to do all these things. This is my plan to do all these things for 3 weeks from me now. And I'm not perfect. I have my issues sometimes, and I forget about doing those. I never forget about coffee anymore. Like even last night, I did not want to do anything. I had cooked, I had done whatever for the day, and all I wanted to do was quit everything, get out the door, go to the pool, and be by myself. But I'm like, okay, is this good for me, or what's good for future me? I was like, you literally have the time and still ability to just go ahead and make yourself like get the coffee ready now, clean the dishes, so that when future you in a few hours gets home, you're going to be so appreciative that you aren't now fighting to figure out what for tomorrow or cleaning. Like it really makes such a difference to like your mental health to be able to make those decisions and disassociate, because empaths like us want to take care, but it's hard to take care of ourselves because we have excuses for ourselves. But we don't have excuses for other people. We will suffer to make sure the other person is taken care of. And that's what I've had to do, is like just make myself somebody else then. It works,
Ayla,
though.
that's gold right there. And you know, anyone watching this, you know, this is something that I think I've been slowly starting to get a little bit of, like, it's been already turning up, and you've just fleshed it out beautifully, and so that's been a great help.
Well, I can't wait to actually hear and see if you practice it a little bit, or like one morning, or I see a post where I'm tagged and you're like, oh, future me did this, and today me loves yesterday me, because future me already set it up for today me, and now it's today me. And it's very confusing when you try to explain it to people. But
well,
man,
you know,
it's
I've
so
been
rewarding.
using that narrative. I've been using that narrative with my boy, with Felix. You know, it's you know, I'd say to him, look, buddy, tomorrow you're not going to be happy about this. You know, you sure you want to do this? You know, but I've been doing it very loosely. But now it's like, I think Daddy's the one that needs this. I think the role model needs to be the one doing this first, because it's so easy to project out the discipline onto the kids, and it's like, no, this is Daddy. All right, so I take that as a challenge. Now, Ayla, I just noticed our time's up, but it's been so much fun. Yeah, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for you to be on my podcast.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right. Hey, you're amazing. Thank you so much for everything you bring to the platform. Genuinely, Ayla, you are such an inspiration. You're a breath of fresh air in my life, and I know in so many others as well. You're always such a bright star in the Nacho Average call. You've lit up so many people's lives. And thank you for just being so transparent and vulnerable and open. Awesome.
Thank you.